It was March 25th, 2010. Coast Guard crews from Air Facility Newport were responding to reports of surfers in distress at the Devil's Punch Bowl State Natural Area. Conditions that afternoon were far from ideal.
Seas that day were 10 to 15 feet with breaking waves on the lava rock. So as the waves would come in, it would push the surfers closer in towards the rock, and then the water would wash back out and take the surfers further out to sea. Our goal was to get the people out of the water as quickly as possible. So we moved them each to the rock and lowered him down 4 times to pick up the 4 surfers.
The waves started coming in pretty hard, and they were putting us underwater 5-10 seconds at a time with just a couple seconds in between. So my flight mech, he decided just to pull me up because he couldn't see me for a while, and I didn't have a chance to get the strap around the survivors, so I just wrapped my arms around them, which we call a physical grip, and hoisted us up to the rocks with just basically me and the survivor holding on to each other for dear life.
The waves pushing him back and forth, the wave would push him in and then the water would drag him back out. He was hit by 2 or 3 large waves while he was trying to hook up the survivors. One of the survivors panicked and crawled up on top of him, trying to get out of the water. He dealt with the surfboards that were connected to the surfer's legs. Couldn't get under the water to disconnect the surfboard, so he had that object tied to them.
There was 2 inexperienced surfers with a more experienced one, and he was hanging on the surfboard with his buddy, and the moment he let go of that surfboard, I think he kind of he was out of his comfort zone at that point, and he just grabbed onto me right away. He was trying to climb up me to keep his head above the water as the waves were crashing in.
He was in a life or death situation, but we got back to the airport and he was completely calm about it.
AST2 Henry's ability to remain composed and decisive during distressing circumstances would be tested once again on the evening of July 5th, 2010, when Henry and his crew responded to a report of 3 juveniles stranded on a rock at Rhodes End State Park.
We were launched for 3 kids stuck on a rock, and given the area that we fly in, we figured they had walked out at low tide. High tide had come in and they were stuck out on a rock, and we'd just go out there, pick them up, and bring them back to shore. Once we got on scene, we realized that they weren't on a rock, they were stuck on a cliff face. And it was dark, so it was night vertical surface is what we call it. Something we don't train for. We do it during the day out here. As a crew, we assessed the situation and kind of looked at what we had on scene and determined that it was going to be a very challenging rescue.
However, it worked out when they got down to a hoist and I got down to the cliff face. They experienced what's called a brownout, just dirt and debris blowing everywhere. So our pilots lost visual reference. So they decided to just pull. They were surrounded by trees on one side, the cliff face on the other. So they only had one way out to go, that was up. And as they were going up, I was on the hook on the cliff face. So I got dragged up the rest of the cliff. And once I got to the top, kind of shot off like I was going off a ramp, and I swung up far enough to the other side of the aircraft to where the co-pilot saw me outside his window, and on the backswing the cable wrapped around the landing gear, so I was then stuck underneath the helicopter wrapped around the landing gear.
You hear lots of harrowing stories about rescue swimmers going into heavy seas, getting battered around by the waves, but really will you ever hear or see one where they're on a cliff face getting beat by debris flying around from the rotor wash, not being able to see, and at the same note, at risk of the person you're trying to save falling and dying rather than necessarily drowning. So it's a little bit out of his element, and he did a phenomenal job given the condition he was in.
For me, it's just I get on the hook and what happens. I just react to the situation and do what I was trained to do. So it's not a matter of keeping her cool. It's just once I'm on the hook, I'm there. So
the great thing about Tom, I've been in the Army and the Coast Guard, so I've been in the military for a little over 10 years, and he is the bravest service member that I've ever personally served with.
I enjoy my job. It's a fun job. I like the guys I work with. I like what I do, and the Coast Guard is pretty family friendly, so it's a pretty easy job to keep going.
Please welcome tonight's awardee for the Admiral Chester R. Bender Award for Heroism, AST2 Thomas Henry of Air Station North Bend.